Hey everyone, this is the Kubeflow Notebooks meeting for the 2nd of April 2026. We have I always like to start with what is Notebooks v2. It's got an alpha release, but doesn't quite work right now. We're working on that. But you can use it in dev mode, and that's the next line here, which is how do you try out a dev version of Notebooks v2? You can go into the repo, check out the Notebooks v2 branch, and follow this guide here and start a local one on a kind cluster. And it helps for development because it automatically builds whenever you make changes locally. It's quite useful. It doesn't have the dashboard or the auth deployed right now, this guide. So that's the part which we're talking about before, which in the manifest repo, in the experimental, like a not default in the main branch, there'll be a way to deploy an alpha version, not in production. So we definitely be careful not to run any of this in production right now. This is not a release app. It's not even functionally complete. It's close though. The roadmap will come back to that later. Okay, so introduction to new people. I don't know if anyone in here is new. I think I see everyone I've seen before. So unless anyone wants to say hi or has anyone new. I don't think so. Cool. So the Foster thing. Oh, actually, I need to bring that back in. Other than that, that's fine. I'll make sure I message Andre about that. What did you say you had something to add, Christian, here on these ones?
Yeah, regarding the PandaBot, it's just something that we can either now or later quickly collect input on. So I set up this playground repository so not everybody is spammed, and try to establish at least a somewhat basic configuration for the PandaBot. As you see, it's still a lot of pull requests, and so the question is whether we want to exclude anything or group things further, or I don't know. One of the other things that I also mentioned is that like the question whether we want to include Notebooks v1 in this at all, because it's like a lot of things in Notebooks v1 are out of date. And so the question is whether we actually plan to update this or not. And I think it makes sense to only have like noise for things that we plan to act on. But yeah, that's like the thing that I want some input on. So if anyone has any, that makes sense. And also the groupings, for example, for the front end things, I have no clue what makes sense there. I just group, for example, the Angular dependencies, like the one that seemed to be upgraded in lockstep and so on. But yeah, we can definitely improve on this.
Um, I think is there one already upstream for? Oh, sorry. Did it happen again? Okay, if it happens one more time, I'll try something else. But okay, um, the the what's that repo that you guys pull from in Red Hat? That might have a. Do you have a dependabot there that you might have similar configs? I don't know for the front end. I know that like it's based on Patternfly, I think. So that's what I'm wondering.
The ODH, not the ODH, Kubeflow. Is it Kubeflow Core? Is that those ones you're talking about?
Um, no, it's more like what I mean is, do they have a dependabot in that repo or other repos that you have as a reference? You know,
Oh, I can check.
because I feel like they must be solving this problem in every other repo. Is what I'm saying, right? So
Yeah.
um, at least for the front end.
Yeah, I think some of the key takeaways that I can already say so far is that updating the pinned references to the GitHub Actions works as we want it to, and the multi-branch structure works from what I can tell. And I think those were the few big things that we were considering, and yeah, that is working. I also additionally included this cooldown thing, which is like kind of acting similar to the NPM release hold of things, where it only proposes an update after the cooldown has worn off. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's not really a guard against the supply chain attack, but it's something that can maybe help, so that we don't quickly merge recently released things.
Pip is also very hard to actually do updates like this for. It's not actually a lock file, and also pip versions can change meaning, and this is hard. This one, uh, the It's just dangerous. These might never be safe to merge, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So this is exactly the input that I'm looking for. So like if we want to exclude something, always fine to do so from my side.
Because yeah, we don't even really pin things in some pips. I mean, this is just only relevant to V1 anyway. This is a great example of that, you know. Other one that I think is, so the GitHub Actions one, where is that? Oh, is that all of them, I guess. So there's one thing we do need to just like figure out from a security perspective is like, now that we're pinning hashes on all of our workflows, annoyingly, this doesn't actually guarantee that this commit exists in the repo. It could be in a fork. So it's not relevant to it's probably Dependabot won't do that. But, and honestly, GitHub should fix this problem. But it's kind of hard to fix though, because technically every GitHub repo is the same. It's just linked to each other. So like, what does it mean? What does it actually mean? So there is a couple of scanning apps which will do it.
I don't think this is something we need to consider. Like if we use Dependabot to update it, we can trust that it's not like some manually injected outside commit.
So it's more like a social engineering attack where someone raises a PR being like, oh, this is updated. It's got an emergency CVE right now. And someone who doesn't realize just goes, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's merge that update right now.
Yeah, but it can't, like that doesn't work if Dependabot is that one we're taking
Absolutely.
our upgrades from.
I'm not worried about Dependabot themselves. I'm just saying like you could end up in this poisoned state without realizing it. You know what I mean? So like that's I don't know how best to it's obviously gonna have to be some kind of pull request and scan, you know what I mean? Like
totally agree. I think it's out of the scope of this, but I think it's something that we need to continue to like think about.
Yeah, like we just it's probably just another pull request check on every single repo in the whole org. And because there's and also ironically we should not depend on another app to do that check probably, you know what I mean? So like that check probably should actually be written in code in a Kubeflow repo probably.
Yeah, but Dependabot is just using the proper upstream repo as a
I'm not
reference.
Worried about Dependabot.
So yeah,
I'm just saying.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. So when do we think we'll be able to make a pull request there, or do we have any thoughts there?
I mean, I just haven't had time to look at this yet. The only thing I was going to just look on the side, but since Matthew asked, I thought, and I could be misremembering, that you could actually have, if you weren't doing security scanning, you could have Dependabot YAMLs on different branches, but maybe I'm misremembering that. So that would be like the only other thing I would want to check is if we could,
I don't think
that we can't do security
all the branches in main. It might not be possible. I could be misremembering that, but that would be my only knee-jerk feedback. But I'll try to look at this in sometime in the very near future, Christian. But I think we should probably not overanalyze it. We can always adopt this moving forward. So if this seems reasonable behavior, I think we just kind of roll with this, and we can always incrementally evolve.
Also, we do have to note that we don't really have any precedent of updating anything in V2 right now because we don't have ETE tests, and we were kind of planning to wait until you know what I mean? Until we had some ETE tests, at least, that would run on every pull request, just to make sure that something isn't completely broken, in V2 at least. Like, you know what I mean? I wouldn't
I agree, but I feel like if we're ready for the Dependabot, then we can always just filter out these raised PRs. Like, I mean, I know we have plans to getting ETE tests in, but we like don't right now. So if that means we're not raising these PRs, but at least it's in there and we can observe the behavior and determine if we like it or not. I mean, I think it's only certain people can merge these, right? So I think, yeah, if we want to merge some of these, there's a higher dependency to them, or a higher bar to, make sure we're doing it correctly. But I don't know if we want to gate this on ETE, as it could be a while, and this one might very well be ready right now.
It just depends on which ones we're planning to merge. That's all I'm saying. Like, if you have a bot raising PRs that we're never planning to merge, it might be just a bit silly. That's all. It might just be noisy.
That's the other part that I ask myself a little bit when going through the, like, at least potential PRs. I, for example, excluded like major Kubernetes updates because those will most likely always include manual work, and like we don't expect like to just merge them. And I think we will need to fine tune the rule set on that part anyways, but I'm happy to like keep looking at this moving forward. So yeah, I can always try to balance out the signal to noise ratio there. It's just a question now for like, what do we start with? Should we maybe also, I don't know, comment out part of the things for we one that you already mentioned, like the pip things? I don't care too much. It's just that I wanted to start for us with a somewhat complete picture, and then we can always reduce from there.
Do we
Okay,
not
cool.
have and thank you for doing this, Christian. So this isn't a criticism, but I noticed on the screen that you're sharing, are we just kind of missing some of the GitHub actions from like notebooks upstream? Because I noticed those raised PRs don't have like V1, V2 tags on them. So that's
And that's
just
just because
because we
this
did.
repo is not managed by Prowl. That's all. That's just this repo is a
Oh,
fork.
that's, I'm sorry, you're right. That's a Prow thing. My bad. Thank you.
Yeah, and also I disabled most of the actions because like of the minutes, like they are running on my account, of course, and I immediately had like a few thousand running minutes.
Interesting. That's a good thing for all of our forks will be impacted by that as well then. So is there a way to make it so that this dependent bot only runs on the real repo, you know?
That's if there's a, yeah, because there's probably a trigger, I wonder. We could look into that because we have that in the publish workflows, right? Where we already have that logic in some of our actions. It's just a matter of if the dependabot YAML supports it, I guess.
I don't think Dependabot triggers on forks, or does it? Like
Oh, is
it's
this
not.
not a fork?
No, this is an actual like separate repository.
So they've already thought of that. Okay, good. Just checking. Is that the case? They've thought of that? Yeah, okay. Cool. If that's the case, that's cool. I just didn't want to DDoS GitHub any more than they already need. They already are. So we, you know, stretching the limits of what people will give for free is not good for the open source community. Okay. Okay. Cool. Let's move on. Okay. So, dependencies. Was this something you wanted to talk about, Andy, or was this not today?
No, that's just kind of, we can
Okay,
even
cool.
just like delete it organically. We'll probably have those discussions at some point. So
That is pretty
I'm
much
not ready
related
to.
to what this is anyway. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's fine. We'll come back to that. Yep. Okay. Charles.
Yeah, so I just want to bring this up. I was supposed to do this last week, but I was sick. Just want to like bring this up so that like we're a little closer to the full functionality. I was exploring with Andy last week on the workspace kind update. I want to mirror the features of workspace update with like and identify some stuff like what can be updated and what cannot be updated when you do the workspace kind update and like redirect like we want to like include the features to allow the admin to do like redirects and stuff like that as well. And just want to bring this up, just start like poking everyone's brain and start discussion so we can hopefully get this in sooner rather than later.
I think we actually had a lot of discussions historically about it from a
Right.
from a workspace kind update. Obviously, the API. I think we actually had a lot of discussions about the API specifically. Let me just.
Well, I think here from my perspective, and feel free to contradict or correct Matthew, but it was like really like from the API, it's really, and not to discount your fine work, Charles, right? But like the API proposal itself is not that interesting because it's really just following the patterns established by what we're doing with Workspace Update. It's then the front end ramifications of how to build screens off of this. You know what I mean? I think there's value in getting the backend API merged and available, reasonably soon, because then the front end work of iterating on that with the potential nested complexity that's wild, starting to come to grips with that. So I think like the back end follows, Charles did a good job documenting. I think it just like encapsulates the spirit of what we're doing for Workspace Update, which is what we wanted to do. But then this unlocks and being able to more easily start to experiment with what we're going to do with the front end because of just the cardinality or breadth of what a workspace kind update can represent. There'll probably need to be a little bit more back and forth to land on something that we all collectively feel good about.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at my own notes from it. I don't actually know if the pull request, or anyone raised a pull request on this yet?
I did a kind of a draft, I think, right, as of last Friday. but it
But
is
then I
very
still
long
need to
because all the
circle
types, yeah,
back with
yeah,
Charles once I get the update API changes we've discussed, Matthew. I hope this afternoon when we kind of parallel work to get those in. And then obviously I'd
yeah.
sync with Charles too. I mean, we've been talking about it. I just need to share it with him so then he can kind of adopt the patterns that we've been discussing.
Because yeah, my
Just
notes.
yeah, I want to mirror that very closely.
Yeah, so like also you did pretty much take something very similar to what I was expecting because lots of the stuff was missing previously. That's kind of what I was saying.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I think the biggest change in this entire thing is like a lot of the auto-generated types for in the Swagger file because all the Kubernetes I think is a volume source has like around like 25 different volume source types. That's like the bulk of it.
Okay.
But the logic can definitely mirror what we have in the workspace workspace update that you guys are discussing.
Yeah, because anyway, that's good. Okay, so yeah, the main thing that I just wanted to highlight is that at least as we planned previously, I don't know if this might change, but at least as we again, the actions get APIs might also provide ways to add or remove them in the future, just that are like more one click, but like from an API perspective. But right now, I think we were planning that we always send the entire object, right? Where you do a get,
Yeah.
you get the entire one and you send it back, which
Hmm.
obviously is much more likely to have conflicts here, just
Hmm.
because of the way this fields work. But what that means is that a lot of the complexity has to happen at the front end, really.
Yeah. Oh, so we have to identify those like what does the front end have to validate because we in workspace update or workspace create right now we kind of like defer all the validation for the back end, right? But the front end can definitely do something. We just have to identify those so that like it's like more frictionless for users.
Yeah, and the main reason why we're even so just to highlight, like people can't really use GitOps for this. So this is the primary way people are going to be editing things. So we have
Yeah.
to really think about that flow from an admin perspective. Like
Yes.
the common actions that they need to do, like removing old ones, deprecating old ones, updating images.
Yes. Yes. The redirect is like probably the tricky one, and we have current design at Red Hat for the toleration node selector and pod affinity as well. But those things are they have front end designs. We don't track how often users use those features, but it's good to have it there in at least in the pod config. Actually, yeah, it's pod config
So like
as well
I
for
think
that.
the initial plan, for simplicity in the front end, at least we were planning, was that we visualize the full payload, but we only
Yeah.
allow editing using YAML for the options. So like the idea would be, at least initially, I think you can change it, of course, but like that, like like effectively where every other one gets its own special section, but like in the actual
Yeah.
UI, but like when you go down to the options of either kind, you end up just with an array of JSON and blobs or YAML blobs, which we just cast into the correct type almost from the UI, because that's how users are probably going to copy and paste them in anyway.
Yeah.
So I think, and I mean, like, not to like
Yeah.
interject here, but I think this is all great discussion, but like, let's get the API, and not today, but like, let's get
Yeah.
the API merged so then we can like focus on these front end discussions. That's why we want to get this
Yeah,
available.
I think definitely we can have more discussion once the workspace update API is more is in ready. So like we can have all these fancy discussions. But right now, like yeah, we can debate on the flow, but I think what Andy says is correct. We can go back to the discussion just to be more productive here.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay. There's also this debate around how we do like whether there's an update API that just tries to merge a user's YAML. You know what I mean? Like where effectively we try and handle the problem for the user. I don't know, and then show them what the diff would be visually. Anyway, that's just like effectively say, oh, that looks like the same idea as this one. It's probably the same one. We're going to assume it's the same one. You know, and whatever else, right? Okay, let's move on. Anyone else got anything they want to add in this before we keep going? So, okay. Cool. Okay, so the Kubeflow 26.03.1 I think we did release these ones. This one, but this is the part that we kind of missed a bunch of things in it. So we're going to be releasing this 01. Where Christian and us, me and Andy have been, well, a lot of it's been Christian doing the pull request up to the manifest repo, and we're getting close to merging those in, I think, which means that we will be updated in the main branch, and then it's up to the testing phase of this new patch release for us to cut a release there. I know there's lots of changes. Thanks for that, Christian. Any comments you have there about that, or?
No, it's just, I think, a lot of work and restructuring. But so far, like especially with the review you gave yesterday, I think most of it is somewhat ready. We can maybe relook at it like later on after the meeting, maybe.
Cool. So yep, to reiterate the plan, obviously it's to have a patch release that contains the latest v1.11 and dashboard v2, and would still considering whether we cherry pick into the release branch these alpha ones, so the v2 alpha 1, we'll cut an alpha 1 with some new manifest fixes, or whether we also bring that into the patch release as a commented out folder. It's just a debate really for manifest group. Okay, dashboard. So there's nothing happening here really other than the sync script, which is being worked on for by Christian. The upgrade guide here. So this is an interesting question. We need to make sure that the manifest people figure this out. Like we need to do lots of tests once we finalize the manifests to see what is stragglered if you just try and update in place or do something silly. I don't know we should work with Julius on that probably. Because it's really his thing. Any thoughts there, anyone, before we move on to the next one? So yeah, updating dependencies, I think you've made some PRs already for that, Christian, and a few others. But
yeah, I think especially for dashboard, it might make sense to apply them at some point, because if our like selling point for the 2.0 is that it's a release update, maybe we even want to get this in sometime soon. Because like the really old versions that we have with dashboard right now in the dependencies, yeah, it's something we might want to update. But yeah, maybe it's something we want to do later. Updated. It's up for debate. When is a good time to do so? It's also this upgrade allowed us to get rid of a few really annoying things in the file. So it deletes a lot of lines. For example, in Docker, we had this special handling of the HashiCorp LRU something module, and all of that is gone because the dependency is now gone with the new version.
There's also many other manifest fixes here, like the fact that the controller wasn't correctly doing locking and whatever else. But yeah, so after, I guess the ordering we were kind of thinking about here was, yeah, maybe, and also migrating these DEX ones into this, whether we do that or not, the dashboard becomes standalone kind of from an auth perspective. This is an interesting question to have, but obviously we can go through each of these as we go. We'll keep tracking them. If anyone has ideas here, that's good. I think, and also we really want to add group support. Because our notebooks too has group support, right? So it's kind of sad for dashboard not to. And I think the debate here is, I think it's going to be easier to add support in the current dashboard than it is going to be to wait for the rewrite of dashboard of some kind to do it. I think it's, does anyone disagree with that? Like group support being like IDPs groups. Like, so a group can be assigned to a namespace, not just a user. Like, yeah. Anyway, there was a big discussion about it over the last few years. Not every app in Kubeflow will support it on day one, but there's kind of a step that, since we're the dashboard right now, we have to do some changes so that everyone else can actually implement their own groups. Okay. No, yeah, we already talked about this as well, which was that unless we could update central dashboard to the weird framework that replaced Polymer, there's a half-written Angular rewrite, or I think the more logical option is to have the workspaces front end, not immediately, but the plan could be to have that just own / and not have a UI in the dashboard repo. But we'll see. Or maybe even move the dashboard repo and merge them together again. Whatever. Okay, just something to think about. Okay. V1, I don't think there's anything happening here. This has already been done.
Yeah, I think for V1, the remainder blockers is to do the image update.
Oh yes, to cut a final one. Yeah, that is not required for the RC of the other one, but yeah, we should try and get that in as soon as we can. Yes.
Yeah, and of course, like the final review on the manifest changes, if we're happy with them now, because
so
then we can at least
which
get the
order of
release
these
candidate.
three are we gonna do? Right. So what's the order of the 3 manifest updates we're gonna do? Like, are we gonna?
I'd say notebooks V1 because it's the most ready to be included. And then notebooks V2 is totally separate from anything. And I mean, dashboard would be really pressing, but we don't have a change for that stage right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I sent the notes about how to do that one, so hopefully we can figure out if that's hard or not. The dashboard manifests. But we should try and make sure that all of them get in. I don't want them cutting an RC without one of them. That's kind of like, it's better, like, even if we know they're ready, it's meant to be better to protect them from doing something hasty. Because, things take time. It's open source. Okay. Okay. After that, I don't think there's anything here for V1 that we need to talk about other than, you're right, absolutely, is the update example images. I'll move this just so that because it is kind of a blocker for ourselves now for cutting the final. 0.01 or 0.1 maybe. Okay, cool. Dashboard notebooks V2. Okay, we don't have infinite time, so let's go to this one. So is anyone? I don't think anything significant has been merged in other than the manifest refactor, which doesn't affect the UI. So is there any reason to do a demo right now on the notebooks V2 current state? There's definitely problems with it. I've been playing around with it and stuff like that, but
from my point at least, it doesn't make sense. But maybe like I don't do much of the front end stuff.
Yeah, I don't think there's been any front end changes. There's definitely some bugs which I started writing down a list here. So let's quickly just go for the alpha 1. It will be. So I'm gonna put that there. So wiki page update sync trips. Yep. So that's the one that you've mostly done. You found some bugs. We're gonna fix that. We do need to update some of these docs after that, just so that there's some information for users. And these are all related. Now the next one is we've done all of this, I think. I don't think we've done that. Have we done this virtual service change in the thing? I need to check if we have or not. I don't think we have that.
No, I don't think. I mean, that's for next though. Oh, I don't know if we really need to include that or not, but yeah, we can discuss. We have not done it.
Yeah, so these are just changes to manifest for the V2 notebooks V2 that we need to get in at some point. So like, yeah, notebook policy for front end and back end pods, set com profile for front and back end pods. Pair authentication is something that we should add for every component of every part of Kubeflow, but this is just we can add it into our own ones. And also adding these easy labels so that tests can be a bit easier, like we have for other ones, which we'll probably run into as soon as we do the ET tests. So.
Right, because, and keep me honest, Matthew, I think for these items under the next bullet here, we did these for controller, right? When we last, because we had other changes we had to make for controller. So the next is really just front end and, it calls out front end and back end here.
Yeah. So then let's just quickly verify it as while I'm here. Did we make the change to the virtual service on, wait a minute, is it front end?
No, we wouldn't have.
Yeah.
We were only touching controller manifest.
Oh yeah, that's right. So let me just put it here. There we go. Okay. Okay, cool. So there's one more PI here that needs to come in for front end and back end. For the manifest refactors, which is good. That doesn't need to block. Okay. Anything here? So front end stuff. Oh yeah, I found a couple of bugs while I was testing around. One of the main ones, very simple, is that you have to restart your entire create workspace flow or update workspace flow if you have a PVC change in the cluster that happens while you're in the flow. because for some reason this get is only happening at the beginning of the flow. It should happen every time you open the list PVC page, attach existing.
Charles, are you back? I know he said in chat he was going to step away just to make sure he hears that.
I am here. Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh yes, yeah. So this is something I noticed because I was confused why it wasn't showing up, but it was because so effectively, I think it should happen every time you click the attach existing page rather than being cached at the very beginning. I don't even know, unclear why it would even make a call if you, yeah.
Oh, I see. So like every time we open the modal, is that what you're
yeah,
referring
and there's
to?
no reason for it really to have even happened at the beginning of the create flow because it may not be needed. So it's
Okay.
And also,
yeah, we can
these
definitely
backend
make that
APIs you
change.
can spam them largely. Like they're very idea is that like if you're making maybe more than 1,000 requests a second for a single user, that could become a problem. But 1,000 per user, so maybe up to like 100,000 per second overall, it should be able to handle it. You know what I mean? Like
I understand.
It's never actually calling the Kubernetes API. You're being mediated by the backend. So like the backend is going to be one of the most busy APIs in the whole of Kubeflow, just by the nature of it. But it's fine to do it aggressively, is what I'm saying.
I see. Okay, understand. Yeah, I can definitely make that change. Actually, I'll aggregate all of this in a different issue. If you haven't done that already.
No, I haven't yet. No.
Okay.
Also, the start works great. Space screen is really glitchy right now, I think, because it's still got that weird update and start button. That's just something I put there. And the last activity, let's try and just make it very easy. I don't know if the backend needs to send that information. Let me just write a note question mark. Does the backend tell the front?
I mean, it does, but ideally we have nothing to send until we get the what is it called? Activity rules or whatever are like the superset of features that encompass calling is where that really comes from, right?
I'm just wondering if even just as a basic, before we even do any of that, just like the basic check, which is like, if there's no probe defined on the workspace kind, maybe it just shouldn't show anything. You know what I mean? Like it should show, rather than saying 56 years ago. Like 56 years ago is fine or unknown, but like, maybe it should say, at least just change the word unknown when it's set to 0.
If 0 unknown is probably a fair, it keeps it simple to get the obvious case.
Let's make that again. So the last activity that should detect cases where epoch is 0 and say unknown rather than 56 years ago. And
that's fair.
Changes. Yeah. Other than that, really. Cool. Okay. These are just going through the list of tasks that we kind of were tracking. There's quite a few here. I won't go through all of them, but the ones that we highlighted were, that's fine. We don't need to talk about that in the call. Let's come back to that one. Controller bugs. Oh, this is quite, these two are quite serious. I do want to bring these up on the call. So just because they require probably a couple people to think about it. So the first one is, I can probably help with this one, but this one is just the fact that events sometimes we don't seem to be reconciling the controller when we expect, the workspace when we expect to. We're kicking out of the reconcile loop too early or something like that. It's kind of unclear. Specifically, it happens when you've got a PVC that's in a bad state and the pod can't start. So, but the error becomes something unrelated. It doesn't like it just says the pod is, what does it say? It says, I actually don't remember what the current state it says when it happens.
No, I just think it stays in pending, right? We're actually not getting the information at all.
Yes. I have a feeling I know why. I think it's because, I think there's even a to-do in the code, just thinking about it here. I think one of my pieces of code puts a retry after. Is this caused by the retry after when no events are found? Because like this was I think we actually talked about this in another issue somewhere where, as kind of a hack to solve a problem in the short term, what I did is I just put a hard-coded retry after when the thing was sitting there. I wonder if that somehow broke this reconcile loop in this exact case, because that was what it was for. It was to detect secrets though, not PVCs. So maybe I accounted for secrets but not PVCs. So okay, cool. which was added for secrets event mount failed mount event. Okay, then this one is really important though. So we don't need to debug it live. I just want to highlight there seems to be a very slow rollout of updates to stateful sets. It might be kind, it might be us, but when I looked at it, when I was just playing around with our local development, what happened was that I did an update, which again we've never really done because the backend API doesn't work. So that's so effectively I did it manually and then noticed, hey, why did it sit for 20 minutes before doing the update? Like I saw the workspace kind was accepted the image config update, the option changed to the next image, then the stateful set updated, but the pod that the stateful set should have torn down and then brought back up just sat there. And it didn't seem like the cluster was dying. So I have a suspicion it's like a pod disruption budget issue or just a rollout of issue on stateful sets that we've somehow accidentally not allowed. But the weird part is it eventually did it. Like that's the part that I most don't understand. Like
Yeah,
I thought
that
it
is
never
super
worked.
weird.
And so we need to try this on like a EKS cluster as well, or not, yeah, something like that as well, just to confirm if it's kind or something. Maybe K3D. That's probably the fastest, easiest way to do a quick check. But I think, which would be a lot easier once we've got the manifest change. But the question just becomes, yeah, if someone runs into this, especially during the update workspace API stuff, this is going to be, we just need to figure out what the heck's going on here. Okay, because it doesn't look like our controller is the problem. It's something to do with, it's a CRD issue, or it was the cluster hanging, effectively.
So I looked into this for a bit, and you gave the hint that it might be like some setting of the STS rollout policy or something. And like looking into all of that, I found a quite confusing situation because for stateful sets, you can specify like in a sense, something like a PDB where you can say like how many can be down at once. And the default seems to be that one can be down at once. Um, I don't know if there's some weird edge case going on with like if it's only one pod, and then since we're like kind of fine with our one pod being down for the moment where it's not working anyways. But the problem is that like all the settings in that regard and all the changes that you can do, at least on the stateful set side, didn't do anything for me, at least in kind. So yeah, as you say, we might need to reinvestigate that, and also maybe we need to explore like different ideas. So what I, for example, thought of, if we maybe can power cycle in a sense the STS from from the controller.
That shouldn't be necessary, right? That's crazy.
It,
Like
it
that's a
shouldn't
bug in
be.
stateful
Yes.
set. If anything, it's either a bug in kind, or it's us somehow triggering the situation accidentally that we don't expect, right? That's just it's like the fact that we're selecting it with a service, maybe Kubernetes protects it by default when you do that or something. I don't know, right? Like it's unclear. I've never seen it before. It could honestly just be a bug in kind. So it's just that we are somehow edge casing. So that's good. Let's just want to highlight that. Okay, update workspace API. We're working on that. We talked about that already. Andy and I work on that. We'll get that merged today probably. Logos and icons will also probably, maybe not today, but that's getting close. Similarly, the secrets API is already doing something, right? But I think there was, oh no, maybe it's not. I think we just wanted to wait until this workspace update API was done. Okay. The get options one, I know that Akram was working on this. I know I don't think anyone's had time to review this yet. Has anyone had? If you want to quickly, just don't go through it. Just like confirm. Doesn't look like anyone else yet. Okay, thanks for working on that, Akram. We'll come back to that. This one also is the base of what I was saying before, which is really critical for the front end. It's the idea that we have an API that the front end can use to get options with a specific path, with the purpose of comparing of saying the user has selected an NVIDIA GPU. In the future, there's going to be configs in the workspace kind that let the user select compatibility rules effectively. And so we need APIs that say, here's my currently selected one. And so that's what this does, I assume.
Akram, anything you want to comment on?
No, the PR is ready now. You can feel free to review it.
Okay, cool. Might take a little bit of time to do, but there's this. Do you have something else to work on in the meantime?
I have another PR regarding the namespace. The namespace filter for the get the
Oh, yeah.
workspace kinds.
Cool.
I want to address some comments that Andy requested from the user. I don't know how to spell it. Utrong, or I don't know.
Okay, cool. Just make sure you have the tasks. That's good. Okay, the slugging, I think we don't need to go through right now, but that was just an important change for the user to not have to think about making a valid name for their workspace. Instead, they put a human readable name and then we just slug it into something valid. But that's not an important one. ET tests, critical, we need to do that, obviously. Subdomain isolation, yes, question, notebook images, yeah, so this long-term stuff. Culling, I know that Hishab is working on this, but I'm not sure what this current status is. SSH, absolutely critical. We need to figure this out and plan it because this might be more complex than we expect. And its useful, notebooks' usefulness is largely determined if this is possible. So, because effectively Kubeflow workspaces is going to be the solution to the problem that is Kubernetes is very difficult to start interactive sessions on for non-admins, right? That's kind of the whole thing we do, effectively. We vendor out I don't know, it's the wrong word, not vendor. We automate interactive environment provisioning. Okay, and interactive environments includes SSH. And then how to do that securely, hard. I'm gonna put that as a.
I'm generally interested in that. It's just I think right now we have quite different problems.
Oh yeah, I think this one is an interesting question as to we just want to make sure that all of our we need to know what we're going to do. That's all I'm saying here, right? I don't say we need to make it in for the GA and KubeCon in A, but like we need to know what we're going to do in case something dramatic needs to change. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Because you could imagine it's probable that it will be a sidecar injection. So that rather than having, because otherwise we then have to have some hard dependency on the way your container is built. That's maybe too extreme. Like port 22 maybe should be owned by a sidecar that we inject, rather than, or something, yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. E.g.
Did somebody already do some proof of concept work on that front?
I mean, there's many ways you could do it. I think the issue kind of goes through it. Like, I just want to highlight that you can do it with like VPN style ones that like what Cursor does. You can do it with VS Code and Cursor do. You can do it with some kind of SD-WAN. The question is really just how to securely get the network part and also the user auth part. There's two distinct issues, right? It's that I'm on my laptop. I need to be able to create something that looks like an SSH session. And so that means I need somewhere to talk to, which might just be a local port, which is proxying me, or it might be it's a bit dangerous, but it might be a full, routed to a gateway. It's unclear. That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of security questions.
Okay.
Cool. And then we just move on. Okay, future releases, obviously, these are important for long-term stuff, but we'll come back to that later. Mainly around stuff like how are we going to do resource provisioning, I think. I'm going to put that as a thing here, which is Andy? Yeah? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not prepared to, like, I'll get on the agenda more formally, but since we're kind of talking through some of these other issues, I've been doing a little bit of feature parity analysis, sidecars and init containers, and allowing people to specify those probably need to be on that list, but and there might be a couple others, but I'm still kind of like fleshing that out to like have real opinions on that.
So how would you do that previously?
Well, I'm just saying, like, from like a workspace kind perspective, like you have no way of providing an init container or anything right now in here.
Did we previously though? I don't think we did previously, right? Or you mean through pod default?
Like from just looking at like how people could have possibly used notebooks v1, starting to think about what a migration path would look like. And so you could definitely specify multiple containers and init containers in v1. And like particularly, I think as we look about like a bring your own auth kind of style perspective, I would imagine we would want like the workspace kind to be able to dictate and define that. And we just have like no story there, best I can tell.
I mean, so like technically speaking, init containers and sidecars would have been only a thing that an admin could do, and it would have either been with a webhook, like a Kyverno, or it would have been with making every single notebook that was spawned by the UI the exact same. Right? I guess the question becomes, what would
like I said, I'm not ready to like have this conversation yet, but
Yeah.
just like in analyzing this, there are ways that you could get init containers and sidecars in v1, and we don't have a story for it. And maybe the answer is we're not going to support it for reasons X, Y, or Z. But I just wanted to kind of put that out there. I will have like a more intelligent opinion in the very near future to discuss that.
Okay, cool. That's fine. We should definitely evaluate comparisons of what was supported before and what isn't supported now. I think that mostly we've done that when we designed Notebooks v2, but if there's something specific where like a lot of stuff was undocumented supported just because it was way too generic, right? That's kind of the underlying problem. So like we just exposed pods, like, and I would argue that anything that was not in the UI is not officially supported, you know what I mean? But so we definitely feature parity with that, with intentional removals of some features, like allowing users to define their own images. But yeah, we can talk about that. That's a good idea. Okay, comparison is good. Okay, I think definitely one thing that I keep seeing from people is I really want to start a Kubernetes cluster that my notebook can connect to. Like this is a this one might even be the most highest priority for like these mesh things, because it's just such a common thing data scientists and AI people want. Is like,
and we're starting to have some of those conversations within Red Hat as well. So I mean, like that I think is like, yeah, just echoing that. Like I see that as well.
Because like managing the lifecycle of array cluster can help protect the cluster from craziness. Like one of the biggest problems people have is they provide their users some way to spawn an array cluster and then they just leave it running. You know what I mean? And it's like, and so if we can tie the lifecycle of it to the culling rules of our notebooks, that's amazing. You know what I mean? Like that's actually why we need to have this discussion. Whether or not we do it for V1, probably not. V2, you know, but 0.0. But it's just something I want to have the same way that I want to have a plan for SSH. I want to have a plan for what the heck this looks like. And DRA as well, we probably just need to make sure that we support it. So actually that's...
Yeah, so I just started to poke into the DRA thing. So I'll at least get like an architecture issue opened up. But like literally I was just like 30 minutes today looking at it. But yeah, I think that would be a good, and it seems like it'll slot pretty nicely into the pod config, you know, kind of style. But I need to spend a little bit more time actually thinking about that. But I will I'll open up an issue to start to capture those thoughts and drive discussion.
Yeah, I'll move that under here because that's gonna have to be in the first release. So okay, yep, cool. Okay, then okay, so we don't have a lot of time. We've already, sorry, this went way too long. Okay, so what have we got here that is blocking people, or people need stuff from everyone or want to share things?
Like Akram, I'm so sorry. I still haven't actually looked at your PR. I know it's ready. Are you able to take on more stuff right now, or like where are you at in terms of, I can at least like follow up to, you know, if you have cycles to give you something, but apologies, like you're still it's still on my pile. I just haven't had time to like pivot to it. But anything else on your end that you feel like you have time to contribute, or any other updates you want to provide?
I think he said he was working on the namespace one. No, the names, getting the namespaces that are allowed to.
Yes.
No, wait, getting the workspace.
I think it was that namespace filter thing to help us with the multi-level.
Yeah, what was that, Akram?
If you're coming in through the workspace kind versus going in through the workspace create wizard, like listing we wanted a different authorization, like RBAC check on like Joel doing this versus Bella doing this, which ties into like our compatibility selectors and eventually being able to use the list values endpoint that he'd worked on to like tie into all of that as well. Where like maybe for certain namespaces, a certain workspace kind wouldn't be
Because, yeah, I'm
available.
trying to remember, how did we prevent that again? Like, where was the place where you could prevent a workspace kind using a? I know that we could do it at the option level, but why was the reason why it would be?
We'll take it. We're running
Yeah.
short on time, so we'll take it offline. Yeah.
We'll keep talking about that afterwards because I do think we need to review his PR. That is a separate question. Like, I want to understand what that was about. But like, this is the first time when we have a structure that looks like the ACL kind of rules, isn't it? Or not actually? No, it's not.
No. So here, this API right now is just, it's the API is valid, but we're just always returning
All of them.
hide false or whatever, right? Because we haven't done the CRD changes and there still is a little bit, we need to pivot back around to like lock that design in, but the API can work. And then as soon as like in the front end can then consume that, once we actually get the actual filtering capabilities in place, front end doesn't need to change because the payloads will be identical. It'll just actually do that intelligent filtering.
I'm trying to remember just like, what was the namespace one there? Because obviously the admin needs to see all namespaces. Oh, I think it was that. Okay. I think I remember. I think it was that the list workspace.
List workspace kinds in the create workspace flow. I have a write up on this. I'll find it real quick.
API changed that, like, so it's not that there's any case where that can happen right now. It was just preparing for the future. Was that the case?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Even in the first.
If you want me, I can share really quick, but this is the.
I'm gonna get my head around it. Yeah, share if you want.
Yeah. This one. Can folks see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's just this, the Bella-centric listing of workspace kinds versus the Joel-centric listing of workspace kinds. And it was, kind of these use cases. So there's a namespace filter when you're in the create workspace flow that it would provide to know, and then you would kind of give this auth policy on create workspace. Like this would be the trigger, which then this actually then still ties into that list values compatibility selector work on how that would work as well. So it's just bringing around this namespace filter to get workspace kinds.
So I'm just trying to remember, like, what were we expecting to be the place where the change here is that the RBAC for this was that you're able to create a workspace in that namespace, then you're able to see the workspace kinds that are available in that namespace. But
yes,
the question, I guess, is where were we expecting to have a limit here? Like, I don't think there was or was this scope for our ACL rules also going to include workspace kind?
If the context payload of list values has a name, like we agreed with that on that API, there's a namespace thing as well.
For that, list values makes total sense. But what I'm trying to figure out is this is at the workspace kind level.
Well, I mean, this because in create workspace, you list workspace kinds, right? And so that's all this is. Just
this actually may not be needed as much anymore if the list values one kind of replaces it, right? Because I think this may have been when we were thinking that the workspace kinds.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good point. Where it's like actually the front end now is just going to put that in the payload. Okay, so let me rethink about it because I was thinking they were complementary, but you are correct now that I'm thinking about this, that this might actually negate this entirely.
I think that API flow should be how the front end does it, just because we're totally going to have that feature in the future. But like, you know what I mean? But like, it's
yes. Okay. So let me, as I swear early next week, Akram, I will look at that PR, but let me, as I review his list values PR, look at this document I originally wrote to then figure out like I'm leaning more towards you, Matthew. I just want to have like 30 minutes of focus time to lock it in, but I think you're right. I think that might actually replace this.
No, it replaces the motivation for it. I don't think it replaces the need for it though. Like, cause we still need to distinguish between the admin get and the user get. Like that's going to definitely be necessary, even if just so that we can send more sensitive information to the admin. you know, like,
Oh, no, because then ultimately, even if you provide this, we still need to, well, okay. Yeah, I'll think about it.
I think
Yeah,
that's
let
the
me think
main
about
reason
it.
for this, actually. I take that back. I think that was the main reason. It was just so that we could send information like which users have spawned which name workspaces that, like, effectively, rather than having the admin have to be able to, well, like, we just say that users don't have the ability to get workspace kinds, whereas admins do. And then the question became, oh, so then how do we make sure the flow to create a workspace works? Because then the user needs to list the workspace kinds that are valid. And so then the answer to that was we just have them pass the namespace they're currently in, which has the benefit of also allowing for future cases where not every workspace kind is available in every workspace namespace. But then the payload response is different. On an admin get workspaces, list workspaces, it's going to be, oh, like which workspaces are using in what namespaces and whatever else. And then for the user, it's just going to be, they don't need that information at all. They just need, what is the workspace? Can I use it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm sorry, because these are the list values API. We still need a list workspace kinds API to support this. And so, yeah, so, okay. So I think yeah, okay. But like I said,
I'll already have it. It would work. It's just that right now we're kind of meshing the admin and the non-admin one together in a way that's just insecure and makes it hard for us.
I'll make sure I have clearly I'm confused. I'll make sure I have all my ducks in a row as I'm looking at Akram's PR, so we have a clear thing here. But yeah, I think
actually
you're
working on another PR right now already. So how far have you got with that PR, Akram?
No, just I'm addressing. So the original author was not me for that PR, the namespace filter. So just I'm addressing Andy comments.
So yeah, if it's completely busted, feel free to rewrite it if you need to as well. Like there's no reason you have to base it on that person's PR. They might not have been right. Who knows? I don't know who made it.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna stop the recording. I think we're gonna try and if we have people who want to stick around, I think we'll try and blast through getting those manifest changes ready, or does like I think we need to cut an RC. At least another RC for the workspace v2 and notebooks v2 and anyway, cool. We'll talk about that offline. Okay, thanks everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.